Well, Yoimiya's coming out in about a week from now, and I thought, well, you know what? Let's make a quick guide on what I think would be the best weapons for Yoimiya, based off what we've seen so far, based off what we've seen from her gameplay trial, from her story quest, and overall what I think is going to be decent weapons for her, and which ones obviously going to be pretty bad, because I think it's fairly decent to tell which weapons are good and bad for her. And as far as we know, there are two different artifact builds that are kind of popular right now. So we have obviously the 4-piece Crimson Witcher Flames. People might try this one out, or there's been talks recently that people will be doing the new 4-piece of Shimenawa's Reminiscence, which is when you cast an elemental skill, if you got more than 15 energy, you lose a bit of your energy and you increase your normal or charge attack damage by 50%. It's a pretty decent set for Yoimiya actually. You know, it's better than the Crimson Witcher Flame set because you need to proc it a few times to get maximum value out of it. Because it stacks 3 times. So I'm thinking most people will be running Shimenawa's Reminiscence. So we're going to be building, you know, characters or like best weapons based off of either one of those two artifact sets. Now, if you guys enjoyed today's video and you want to support me, feel free to sub because only 4.8% of people should be subscribed. Yeah, it's going up for once. This is crazy. But yeah, if you enjoyed content, you always feel free to sub. But let's get into it. So we're going to be reading the archive like we do every time that I make one of these videos, because it's the easiest way to display every weapon in the game, and I can read up the stats for the weapon and talk about them. So let's get started with the 3-star bows, because let's be honest here, not everyone is going to be AR-55 pulling Yoimiya. There's going to be some people who might be AR-15, AR-10, you know, maybe even some new players, you know, trying to get Yoimiya. They might enjoy her. You know, you might have even just pulled her today for, you know, and you're watching this video. So let's talk about the starter weapons that would be decent on her. Raven Bow, don't do it. I mean, you can actually. Raven Bow's okay. You can use it with Yoimiya because it increases your damage against opponents affected by Pyro by 12%. And of course that's at refinement rank wrong, so it goes up to like maybe like 24% I believe. So it's basically a free 24% damage increase. So Raven Bow isn't actually that bad. Sharpshooter's Oath is a good bow if you're doing, you know, weak spot damage, which you're not really on Yoimiya because you're more like spam attacking, so maybe no. Recurve Bow, definitely a big turn off. Slingshot is actually alright. Now, it depends on how close you are to targets. If you're close to targets, which, I mean, most people would be if they're playing Yoimiya, would be up, you know, up close, it's actually a free damage increase, and I think that's generally a good weapon that you could use. So I say Slingshot pretty decent because it increases your damage by 36% if it hits a target between 0.3 seconds of being fired, which if you're up close to spam attacking, then yeah, it will. If not, well, there's always the Messenger Bow, which is good if you really want to do weak point damage, but, you know, I'd say either Slingshot or Raven Bow as your 2 weapons to start off with. I'd say maybe Raven Bow if you want to do more elemental reaction kind of damage, but, you know, that's just me. You know, you can either go one of the two and you'll be perfectly fine. Now, when you get to 4-star weapons, this is when things start to get a bit interesting, because you could always try a support Yoimiya build, which I mean, I wouldn't recommend because I feel like she's maybe played as a main or sub DPS, not a support. But if you really want to run her as a support, you can always use Favonius Warbow. The Stringless is interesting because it increases your elemental skill damage by 24%. Now, the thing is that on paper it looks like it will increase her attack damage, but not really, because it just infuses her auto attacks with Pyro, so I don't think the Stringless is going to affect Yoimiya that much, unless you want a lot of elemental mastery. Sacrificial Bow, just don't bother. Royal Bow, I mean, you can make a case for it, but I just wouldn't recommend it, because there's a lot better weapons out there, like Rust. Rust is, in my opinion, probably one of the best 4-star weapons that you can get for Yoimiya right now. I mean, there's a few others we can get onto, but Rust in general is pretty good because it increases your normal attack damage by 40%, but it decreases your charge attack damage by 10%. Now, it does have attack percent as a substat, which isn't the best because a lot of people prefer to have crit rate and or crit damage as their main or substats, maybe with energy recharge. So attack isn't the greatest, but it does increase your normal attack damage by 40%, which is a pretty decent, you know, increase, given that a lot of Yoimiya's damage comes from just doing normal attack and not really charge attacks, unless you want to do charge attacks, you know, with the bow and get the homing attacks, which is a completely different way of playing, which is completely valid, so there's different options for that as well. But if you're going to play spam Yoimiya, Rust is a really good option. Prototype Crescent is a good free-to-play craftable weapon you can get for her. I feel like there's a better weapon now that Inazuma is out, but Prototype Crescent is good if you have absolutely nothing else and you haven't unlocked Inazuma yet, and you really want to do charge attacks. Compound Bow is for physical characters, and unless you're building physical Yoimiya, I wouldn't recommend it. Same with Missing Nuts Waltz, wouldn't recommend that either. Blackcliff Warbow. Now, I run one of these on my Tartaglia, and I think it's pretty decent because it gives you crit damage, and when you defeat an enemy, your attack gets increased by 12%, and you can stack this up to 3 times, and obviously this is at R1. Now, I'd honestly recommend the Blackcliff Warbow. I think it's pretty decent. It'll be a decent pick for her. Very Distant Hunt, it gives you crit rate, and upon hit, you get like a little cyclone, which like attracts opponents a bit of like a little tornado kind of thing going on, and deals like a bit of damage once every 14 seconds. But you know, if you want a crit rate to damage out to balance it out, then go for it. But you know, you don't need the Very Distant Hunt, you don't need to buy the Battle Pass to have a good Yoimiya. Alley Hunter, I mean, to all 2 people that have the weapon, because I swear nobody pulls on the weapon banner. It's pretty decent, you know. It's decent if you're running Yoimiya as a sub DPS, because if you're not having her on the field, you'd be generating extra attack. But this is a weapon that I'd recommend only if you're you got a main DPS already and you're just switching Yoimiya out on the field often. That's when I'd recommend Alley Hunter. If not, I'd recommend something else like Rust or Blackcliff. Windblue Mode. I don't think it's gonna be that good on her. That's a lie, actually. That is a fat lie. Windblue Mode, it would actually be pretty decent on her. It has Elemental Mastery, which isn't the greatest, so, I mean, unless you're running a Xingqiu for elemental reactions, then I don't know, man, but if you cast your skill, you get an increase in attack for a few seconds, which basically means if you press E, your attacks get converted to Pyro, you do more normal attack damage, and your Windblue Mode will increase your attack even further. So, you know, if you have that from the event and you don't have any of the other weapons, go for it. But the last 4-star weapon is Hammer Uni, which is the new 4-star crafted weapon that was released as part of the Inazuma patch 2.0. Now, this increases your normal attack damage by 16% and your charge attack damage by 12%. And when your energy reaches 100%, this effect is increased by 100%. Now, there is a case you can build for this weapon that will make it really good. Now, if you're running Shimanara's Reminiscence, then you're not going to be getting the 100% effect all the time. If you're using your burst a lot, you'll be not getting the effect all the time. But if you're someone like me who's really dumb and don't use your burst, then this would actually be a decent bow for you, honestly. But, you know, you need to have a specific playstyle, I think, to get the maximum effect of this, because we all know there's a better weapon for this here. You know, Rust is a better Hammer Yumi, in my opinion, because you don't need to have a specific energy for it to take effect. So I'd recommend Rust over Hammer Yumi, and also you get better attack values as well, better base attack, better attack percent. So yeah, if you're asking what 4-star weapons I recommend, then I recommend Rust, Blackcliff Warbow, Very Distant Hunt if you want crit rate. The best free-to-play weapons are Windblue Mode if you want, to do reaction damage, Hammer Yumi if you got absolutely nothing, and if you haven't unlocked Inazuma yet, then I recommend Prototype Crescent, and if you're running a special switch style, then Alley Hunter. But there's also the 5-star weapons. Now, we can get onto some of these because, there's a new one coming out, Thundering Pulse. But we'll start with Skyward Harp. Now, Skyward Harp increases your crit damage by 20%, which is crazy because your main stat on the Skyward Harp is crit rate. And overall, that's pretty good. It's got a really high base attack, some of the highest in the game, I believe at least. And overall, it's a good weapon for her, I think. I like to believe it's a good weapon for her. Same with Amos Bow. Now, the Amos Bow is also pretty decent because it increases your normal and charge attack damage by 12%. Yeah, okay, sure, the main stat is attack percent, but it's fine. After a normal and charged attack is fired, your damage gets increased for every 0.1 second the arrow is in the air. So this would work even more effective at longer ranges. So, there's a minor playstyle, but it's only if you want a tiny bit of extra damage. Overall, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. Then there's energy for the end. So, I'll read it out for the 2 people that have the weapon. Oh wait, it's a paragraph. Hold on. Basically increases your elemental mastery by 60, and when you use elemental skill or burst, you gain a stack, which can be triggered every 1.2 seconds, and you can trigger even if you're not on the field. When you get all 4 stacks, you'll gain an extra 100 elemental mastery, get an extra 20% attack, and then you won't be able to get the attack, like the stack, for another 20 seconds. Yeah, it's a mouthful to take in. The main stat is energy recharge. I don't think it's going to be that good on Yoimiya. I think honestly Skyward Harp or Rainbow's Bow is a lot better. But there's also Thundering Pulse, which is the new weapon for her. The weapon is crit damage. It gives you a lot of crit damage and increases your attack by 20%. And it has stacks similar to the new Missplit of Reforged. Now, when you do a normal attack, deals damage, you get a stack which will increase your damage by 12%, which is. Then there's also casting out elemental skill will give you a second stack, which will increase it to 24%. And then if your energy is less than 100%, you'll get another stack, which means your normal attack damage will get increased by 40%, which is really good for Shimanama's Remembrance. Thundering Pulse is probably the best weapon for Yoimiya. Who would have saw that one coming? But if you're not going to well for Thundering Pulse, then I'd recommend Skyward Harp, then Amos Bow. Then, after Amos Bow, I'd recommend Rust, then Blackcliff, then Windbloom and Viridescent, and then Ali Hunter and Hamayumi, and then for the low-level players, Slingshot and Ravenbow on the same tier. But that's my thoughts on what the best weapons for Yoimiya are. Let me know down below what you guys think, because you probably have differing opinions to me, and that's completely fine. But I hope you all have a great day wherever you are. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you guys in another video really, really soon. Have a lovely day wherever you are, everyone.